Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to one of your many little extra shows for being just a wonderful part of the TT community. It is, of course, Talking Knockouts. I'm the Gov, and I am with the biggest and best hype man the business has yet to see, Matt Phillips, joining me as always. Welcome in, Matt. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, and look, you wait months for a Talking Knockout show, and we've got 2 in a week.
2 in a week, absolutely. Should we start with what happened last week after the Talking Knockouts, and then we'll go to the biggest news to break in a long time? Because I think we should probably start after last week. Let's start after last week, because obviously we can just clean that up nicely.
Yeah. So, Brooke, very exciting.
How did you see it?
I mean, it was all drama, wasn't it? I mean, they had to change Brooke's gloves in the ring. I said to you, this is either really amateurish on their behalf, and like, you could get smoked here. That's what I was expecting. They're just not prepared properly. But maybe it was a bit of mind games from Khan. But you have to wear the gloves that were chosen in the pre-fight meeting. So clearly he'd come in the wrong gloves, the brand of gloves. It was the wrong type, but the correct brand. So he'd not even warmed up in those gloves. So I mean, fair credit to Kel. And then there was me saying Kel looked a shot fighter against Terence Crawford. Well, as soon as the first bell rang, you messaged me and said, I think Amir's the shot fighter.
It's over. I told you, Amir with the glass jaw. I said inside 4. Yeah, I was just that slight out. Yeah. It should have been. It should have been inside 4.
It could easily have been that. And, I thought Kel was finished. He looked great. I was a bit concerned when Khan came into the ring, actually, because when he took his gown off, he had those, you might have seen those round marks on him, cupping marks, which is often used to try and, for muscle fatigue. So maybe his body just wasn't up to it. And clearly look, fair play to him. He didn't go down, but certainly punch resistance was all over the shop because he was staggering off a jab in the first round, wasn't he? So
he was, but he didn't go down, as you say. He kept his feet, rallied, showed incredible recovery powers, but then it was overwhelming in the end. Probably the end of Khan's career. But Kell Brook, what's next for him? Because I'm hearing Eubank Jr. and then I'm hearing
a piece of him now. Yeah,
yes,
he's not been mentioned in the last 6 months other than for the Khan fight, but. They put on a great spectacle, and Amir looked like he'd done 24 rounds, not 6.
Absolutely.
Kel didn't have a mark on his face. So I think Eubank Jr. was on the Sky coverage, but I think he's too big for Kel, really. I mean, they were talking about coming in at sort of over the middleweight limit, maybe. That's too big for Kel. The most likely fight, if he's to continue, I think he should retire on a high, personally, because that was the closure fight that he wanted in his career, that he chased for almost 20 years.
That conviction that he finally wanted and got.
Yeah, but they're thinking, Conor Benn, Nigel Benn.
If you say Eubank's too big, it would take too much for Brook to get down, I think, to fight.
Well, they'd have to make sure that Conor comes up. So he said he could easily do 150 pounds, which is just a little bit heavier than what we saw last Saturday. I mean, that's still quite a big jump for Conor. But I mean, that would be a great fight, I think. So I mean, we'll wait and see. I'd like to think that both might just retire now. Amir certainly. He's got another 3 weeks to actually action his rematch clause. You remember we said that was in there in case there was a dodgy end. There certainly wasn't a dodgy end. I mean, it was like it was closing of a chapter, I think. And he was talking at the end of the within minutes of the fight ending, saying, "I'm not sure if the love of boxing is there." So maybe he just took the fight for the wrong reasons. Maybe he needed a bit of a payday. I don't know. Who knows what happens behind closed doors? So I think that's the end for Amir. The Conor Benn fight could be there for Kel, but I'd like to see him retire. He's had a great career. We said that win against Sean Porter on points in the States was probably the biggest win that either two fighters had. And now he's proved his point against Amir. He's got the respect of Amir. We predicted they might be friends at the end, and they looked like there was some respect there. It's a great way to finish, I think.
I wouldn't necessarily say respect. I think it was boxing respect. As I said last week, that's what all boxers have for each other. But I don't know if they're a bromance brewing. HJM boxing, Brook would still beat Conor Benn easy.
I think he's too big for him. Yeah, absolutely.
Can't see Brook fighting anymore. Think he'll call it a day. Mike D talking knockouts. Rick takes on all armchair fans. Mike, we love you. The amount of time I've heard someone will lose on the rate of 5 wins is a good fighter is Cassie. Right, before we come on to the Taylor Catterall, we have got a big blockbuster piece of news
Yeah.
It's still fresh. It's so fresh. It's hot.
We've timed this show good, haven't we? So, 5:00 tonight. They suddenly tweeted out Fury versus White, 23rd of April. There it is at Wembley Stadium. Huge for the WBC title. Another Battle of Britain. We've got them coming, haven't we? We've got tomorrow night in Taylor and Catterall.
Last week.
And now we've got this to look forward to. So, brilliant. What a spectacle that's going to be. It's going to be fantastic.
It is. Apologies. I am having a light just decided to just fall over on me. So that's why it's on the screen a bit longer
than I would. It's painted in anticipation of what's
it has. Dillian Whyte, Tyson Fury, only one winner, but it's going to be a hell of a fight all the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think Fury will start a big favourite in that.
As he should.
But you can't rule Dillian out. I mean, he's resilient. He got knocked out by Povetkin, took the rematch and stopped Povetkin. Nearly stopped Joshua, if you think back to a few years ago, which might have derailed Joshua's career. As it was, Joshua recovered and knocked him out. So he brings a good puncher's chance to that fight, I think. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's heavyweight boxing. You can never rule anybody out of heavyweight boxing. One punch changes careers. That I mean, look at. Yeah, I mean, look, Dillian Whyte's a prime example in that fight camp with Eddie Hearn. That one punch knocked him, and that could have really altered, and it did for a short while, his career.
I think if he was lucky that I can't remember. I think Povetkin got COVID immediately afterwards and couldn't take the rematch fight when they wanted to do it. I thought that was too soon for Dillian, and he probably would have got stopped again. I mean, it was a hell of a shot, wasn't it? I mean, he was literally out on his feet.
Good night.
Yeah. But he's a good fighter. He is a good fighter, Dillian, and he deserves this chance. He's been the mandatory challenger for the WBC for about 1,000 days, if not more.
Yeah,
1,000 days. It's crazy, isn't it? He never got his shot at Deontay Wilder. Fury came in, did the business over 3 fights, and now Dillian's got his chance. So everyone's going to get a payday. Everyone's going to be happy. I think Dillian's getting about $8 million out of this. So
it's not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad being hit in the face a few times, is it? I mean, that's not too bad. Talking of being hit in the face, let's obviously move on to what we're here to talk about. Another one. Look at this, Matt. Talk to us about this one.
Well, this is a great fight. I mean, we've got Josh Taylor here. Now, not a mainstream. This is what annoys me. Not a household name in the UK whatsoever, but is undisputed junior welterweight, super lightweight, whatever part of the Atlantic, either side of the Atlantic you're from. We'll call it light welter. He holds all the belts and is also the Ring Magazine champion and also won the World Boxing Super Series Muhammad Ali Trophy. There's no more this guy can win at this weight division. He's from Edinburgh. He's 18-0, but he's gone under the radar. It's a bit like, for mainstream fans, it's a bit like Andy Murray winning all 4 Grand Slams in a year and it not being reported on the BBC. That's how I compare it to. So fantastic. Probably the best Scottish boxer ever. You got Jim Watt and Ken Buchanan in there, but he's just the man at the moment. And he's on Sky tomorrow, normal Sky, not box office. You can just watch it as normal against a good challenger, a good domestic challenger in Jack Catterall, who's 26-0. And
why hasn't he crossed over? Why hasn't he gone on to the main
stream? He's fought on Channel 5. I mean, they have a common opponent, the 2 fighters, in O'Hara Davis, who's become a bit of a gatekeeper in that division. But yeah, Taylor fought O'Hara on Channel 5, stopped him in at the midway point. Catterall went point to him. Why is he not crossed over? Good question. Probably because I think a lot of the mainstream media, like he'd be perfect on the BBC, right? If the BBC still covered boxing, he'd be perfect. Okay, they do it on the radio, and he's been covered on their radio. But in terms of television exposure, I remember, Barry McGuigan crossed over when he won his title at QPR back in the mid-'80s. Became a household name. That's all Josh Taylor needs, really. But he's on Sky tomorrow. He's probably bigger in the States and places like that because, that's where they've given him a bit more pay-per-view exposure than what he's had over here. But, yeah, fantastic fight. He's number 5 in the Ring Magazine's pound-for-pound best fighters in the world. Just ahead of him is Terence Crawford. Just behind him, Errol Spence. You've got Canelo, obviously, at the very top of the ladder. So, I mean, there he is. Lad from Edinburgh, 18-0. He's got about a 72% knockout percentage. And he owns all the belts. And the Ring Magazine.
All of the belts.
Yeah, there's nothing else for him here. Interestingly, he's been made WBO Super Champion, which means in the WBO rules that if he was deciding to go up to welterweight, which is what the kind of the weight we saw last week, albeit a couple of pounds heavier, he could automatically fight Terence Crawford, which was the team behind Amir, and Terence was in his corner. He's 37-0. He's just kind of rivaling Canelo pound for pound. That'd be a great fight. That's probably what is next for Taylor, in all honesty. I mean, he's cleaned up at light welter. A move to welterweight's probably where the money is for him.
Okay. We, as HJM Boxing says, Taylor is elite. We know about Taylor. You've told us. HJM has just told us. But there's always two dogs in this fight.
Yeah.
What can the opponent bring to the party in Glasgow, Mr. Phillips?
Yeah, I mean, Catterall is, and I know Steve Parry, who tunes into Overspeed shows, is a friend of his, which is brilliant. I love that. He's a Chorley lad, 26-0, built up a lovely record for himself. Nicknamed El Gato, the cat in Spanish, I think that is. His hero was Ricky Hatton, so he'll probably try and emulate that style a little bit. Come forward. He throws very good combo shots. Importantly, he's had really good sparring experience. So we might not have fought the elite fighters, obviously, than what Josh Taylor has. He's won all the titles against some really good fighters. Catterall, in a week, sparred not only Floyd Mayweather for Mayweather's fight against Pacquiao. They wanted a southpaw, both the southpaws in this fight, by the way. They wanted a southpaw to mimic Manny Pacquiao in the run-up to that fight. So he went over to Vegas and sparred Floyd. And then a week later, he went and sparred Canelo in San Diego. So that's not bad, is it? 2 all-time greats in 7 days. So he's
that's pretty good.
He's been around the block a bit. I mean, you can't get any much better sparring experience than that. But his opposition that he's fought is probably more of a domestic level rather than elite level that Taylor's been in, and that could play a part. I know that Catterall's not had a fight since late 2020, and we saw that Amir had been out of the ring since 2019 last week and looked ring rusty to hell. So whether or not that will play a part, I don't know. That said, Taylor hasn't fought since last year either. He only had one fight last year. So he might be ring rusty as well. We don't know. But certainly in experience, even though Catterall's had more fights, Taylor's 18-0, so he's had less fights, but he's been against some quality operators. He's been in against Regis Prograis that he won the World Boxing Super Series against, and 2 of the belts. Then Ramirez, undefeated as well, and took his titles and floored him twice. So I mean, we're talking, he's been against some elite opposition. Did you know that if you put all of Taylor's opponents together in the last 6 or so fights, their combined record would be 136, lost 1. And that one loss was Victor Postel, who lost to Terence Crawford.
Wow. So
for the cream of the cream. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about both these fighters. Parry says he's a southpaw. So talk to me, as I am, your average boxing fan, come into it because it's on Sky, free of charge if you've obviously got Sky. I'm going to pay box office. I'm coming to it and I'm thinking, right, it's boxing. I like boxing. What can I expect then? What is the style of both fighters? What should I look out for in the fight?
Well, they're both southpaws. So for fans that might not know, that's when your lead jab is with your right hand, your power punch is your left hand. Normally it's around the other way. You lead with your left, you jab with your left and power with your right. So they're both southpaws, so there's not much of an advantage in there. I mean, we saw the southpaw advantage for Taylor in his fight with Ramirez in that, your power punch is coming in over the non-defensive angle the fighter would have as a right-hander, and he floored Ramirez twice with that. So he couldn't really cope with the power. But they're both going to be southpaws here. I mean, what does Taylor bring to the party? I mean, what doesn't he bring to the party? I mean, he's got a tight defense. I don't think he's ever been floored from what I can remember. He's got a really quick jab, and it's like a piston. He's really comfortable going into what we call the pocket. So he likes to fight in up close, which will probably see Catterall as well, until maybe he lands a few shots. But like I say, I mean, he floored Ramirez, undefeated fighter, held I think it was the WBC belts. Really good operator. Everyone in the States thought Ramirez would win, and Taylor won by a couple of points. He needed those knockdowns in the end on the American judges' cards. Typical American judges, just to get the decision. Had he not got the knockdowns, he got the decision. But I mean, British judges can be a bit funny sometimes as well. So I mean, he's like the full package, really. He does tend to mark up a little bit against Regis Prograis. He was fighting with one eye, he got a swollen eye, and that was a really close fight. I could have swayed either way on that one. It was such a great fight. This was for the Muhammad Ali Trophy, the World Boxing Super Series. He probably just edged it, Taylor. He probably just edged it a little bit. But I mean, Catterall, like I say, has had some quality sparring, but maybe not the same kind of fights that he's had in the ring. Been out for a while, but he likes to throw down. He's not going to back off of Taylor. He's probably going to get into the mix a little bit.
Yeah.
That would be his downfall with the jab. it might just back him back a little bit, and he might have second thoughts about coming in. But he does throw good combination punches, so he's going to bring some fire, at least in the early part of the fight, I think. My take on it is that probably Josh will probably catch up with him in the later rounds, I would have thought, somewhere between 8 and 10, maybe.
Okay, we've got Robert Grimsey hopes he gets few tickets on Wednesday. Parry thinks it'll be a tactical, but they both have a punch.
Yeah.
HAM says Tally can switch well also. Again, Catterall will be awkward first with a couple. Expect Taylor 4-6 to figure him out in the knockout.
Yeah.
So who takes it? Before we go on to Sunday's big bouts, who takes it for you? Who takes the glory?
Oh, I mean, Josh all day long. I mean, look, he's 14-1 on. He's 14-1 on with Paddy Power right now. They're doing a little deal if you do want to try and double your money for Josh Taylor to win by KO or TKO. They're giving you evens, so you could double your money if he was that way inclined. So I think that's a good bet if you wanted to put something down. I would say between around about 8 and 10. I think maybe Catterall will quit on his stall. He might take a lot of damage, and they'll think we've had enough of this. We'll wait and see, but it'll be good. And Catterall's a good fighter, and even if he does fall short in this against an elite operator, he'll be able to come again. Absolutely, he's only 28.
Okay. On to Sunday, we've got 2 bouts I'm going to talk to you about. First of all is Lawrence Oakley defending his cruiserweight title at the O2.
Yeah, we've fixed the O2 up, thank God.
Yes.
Got shredded
on my boxes.
In the wins, Still Muniz. It's funny, actually, because Taylor's called, going back to Taylor, he's called the Tartan Tornado. So we've got another win blowing in, which is going to be in Glasgow. But that fight's in Glasgow. This one's coming at the Hydro Arena. This is coming down to the O2. So Lawrence Oakley, so he's in the cruiserweight division, 6'5". He holds the WBO cruiserweight belt. So this is the weight division, 200 pounds. Sits just below heavyweight. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a division that's not seen as particularly sexy. You have a lot of Eastern Bloc fighters in here, not many household names, but it is the bridge to heavyweight. And I think Lawrence, even though not a household name yet, he will move up to heavyweight at some point. So he's got the WBO belt. I think once he goes to heavyweight, he'll become a much bigger name. But he's got the WBO belt. That was the one vacated by Usyk when he went up to heavyweight. So all those belts were split. Maris Bradis is who Usyk beat for the Muhammad Ali trophy in that cruiserweight division. He's number 1 at the moment. He seems more interested in fighting Jake Paul for some unknown reason than fighting Lawrence Oakley. I think he's got dollar signs in his eyes a little bit.
Yeah, but payday.
Yeah, so Lawrence is 17-0. I think he's managed by Anthony Joshua, or he was. I think he still is. Someone in the comments will tell me. And he's fighting a Pole, Michael Kieslak. Decent fighter, never been dropped. He's 21-1. One of these sort of granite Eastern Bloc style fighters. His only loss was to Alungu Makubu, who people might remember was stopped by Tony Bellew in 3 rounds at Goodison Park when Tony Bellew won the WBC title off him. So a very good fighter, Makubu, even though he got blown away by Bellew. He actually put Bellew down in the first round, I seem to remember. It looked like it was going to be curtains. And then Tony somehow found the punch from nowhere and sparked him on his feet. So there's no shame in losing to Makubu, as Kieslak has done. But I think a lot of people are thinking probably Lawrence will probably win over on points, I would have thought. But it's the second Pole he's fought in 3 fights. He won the vacant WBO title, beating Glowacki. I think he stopped him sort of mid to late rounds. Had a pretty easy defense against Prazovic, who was from Montenegro. And now he's got another Pole in front of him on Sunday. It's on DAZN, by the way, which is something like $7.99 a month. You might be able to get a free trial on that. Good service. It's going to be another fight for Lawrence. Hopefully he can come through that. But I think the bigger fights for Lawrence is going to be when he goes up to heavyweight. I mean,
up to heavyweight.
6'5", bit of a unit. Hopefully he can
make
reach. It there. But yeah, they're going Sunday, so they don't clash with the Taylor fight.
Agreed. Wardley, our boy, Fabio Wardley.
Fabio's on the undercard, isn't he?
Yes, Martz. Yeah.
You've got Fabio on the undercard, Ipswich boy, and also I think Campbell Hatton's on as well. I mean, Fabio. He had a pretty decent last victory. I think it was. I might be wrong here. I think it was against Chris Ariola. I'm just thinking off the top of my head here a little bit. Bit of a shot fighter, really, but still a name in the heavyweight division. But he's plugging away nicely. He'll be looking maybe to get some kind of British, European title shot at some point, I think, Fabio. You don't want to progress too heavily in the heavyweight division because, as you said earlier, we'll go on to a shot. It's curtains.
Absolutely, it is.
Boxing likes a 0 on your record. So, Fabio wants to try and protect that as much as he can. And then Campbell Hatton's, he's coming off the back of his first stoppage win. Mm-hmm. Arguably, the fight before that, he lost, actually. He got the decision. I think he got a bit of a hometown decision a little bit. the jury's out on Campbell a little bit. He's a great lad, lovely lad. I love the hands. Whether or not he's going to follow in the footsteps of his dad, I'm not too certain. But he got a stoppage win in his last fight. He'll be on the undercard. We'll have to wait and see. But he's doing all right at the moment. But I think the Hatton name is propelling him along a little bit right now.
Well, and it's a good name to have in boxing.
It is, yeah. And he's a really nice kid as well. He's salt of the earth, aren't they, the Hattons? But it's big shoes to fill.
Fabio will win inside 5. Do you see Fabio winning it, Matt?
Probably quite. I would imagine quite comfortably. He's doing pretty well, Fabio. I mean, he's had no amateur experience. I think he had a few of the white collar fights and gone straight into being a pro. So that's always a worry for me that you get people like Usyk, who was an unbelievable amateur and went to the Olympics and all that, and then you expect people to come through the white collar game and no real amateur experience and try and get into the same ballpark as them. It's difficult, but steady progress. He's learning his trade.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, we're done. We're dusted. We're back in 8 minutes for some more ITFC content. A few more comments before we go. HAM, Wardley, Gorman, 50-50 for British. The Durrance, Fabio needs to step up after this fight. HAM, Campbell, Hatton, a long way off. Robert Grimsey. Fabio will smash this bloke away, then take an interim fight before Nathan Gorman for the British title. Yeah. Adam says resting over boxing. Adam, if you're a big wrestling fan, watch this space. That's all I'm going to say at this moment in time. But watch this space. It's good being a YouTube or Ko-Fi member. That's what I'm going to say. Keep your eyes peeled. Stephen Parry, as long as he doesn't know Derek.
Yeah. I mean, funny that people mentioning Gorman there. That's actually Tyson Fury's cousin.
Is it? Believe
it or not.
You learn something every day.
Yeah. Right. So that could be a fight we see soon. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we're done. We're dusted. He is the biggest hype man known in the business. We'll see you all in now officially 7 minutes. But until then, up the boxing.